Lovely, thank you. On behalf of CIBSE, our CEO Ruth Carter and our current President Vince Arnold, very, very many thanks for inviting us today. So, engineering the future. You could go off in so many different subject areas, couldn't you? And this morning we've heard from people talking about massive designs, Hong Kong, really inspiring hearing about Hong Kong. I'm out in 2 weeks' time, so I'm really looking forward to that. And we've been talking about energy and environment and things like that. But there is a simple fact. Without engineers, we can't engineer the future. And that's a subject matter I could rattle on about for hours. But I wanted to bring you sort of into my micro world of engineering the future, because we need to look backwards and we also need to look at the present as well to learn from things. The common escalator, I thought it's interesting. Let's go off-piste a little bit, talk about escalators. All I know about is lifts, escalators and things that move people, which is why I don't get invited to many parties. So, but let's have a quick look. 1859, first patent came out for an escalator, a little bit before its time because the electric motor hadn't been invented. But since then, there was a merge of designs when Otis bought Seeberger and Reno, and that was 1935. And what you now see above ground for an escalator is what was seen in 1935. So 90 years ago, there's been nothing changed above ground. Yet, we're killing and injuring people. Yeah. So we need to look to the future and what needs to change in micro world. So there's three. I spend my life investigating accidents with lifts and escalators. So when it comes to escalators, there's this model. So design, maintenance, and passenger behaviour. And I accept that passenger behaviour is a major problem with escalators. Get that? Take alcohol away, take luggage away, and you'll halve the number of accidents. However, design and maintenance is a real issue, and we need engineers to design for the future, and we also need engineers capable of maintaining. All of the infrastructure you mentioned earlier, it needs to be maintained. It won't maintain itself. We need to be bringing engineers through. So SAFED is the Safety Assessment Federation. They recently reported that 18% of escalators in the UK have what we call Category A defects when thoroughly examined. That's a defect where someone could be injured in the foreseeable future. However, in the UK, escalators, you won't believe this, do not have to have a periodic thorough examination. Lifts do. You take your car in for an MOT. Escalators don't. And of those 18%, they didn't include the major owners of escalators, the railway and airports, would you believe? So this must be retail sector. Yeah, that's terrifying. The HSE at the moment have got a consultation now on LOLA, lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations. I urge you to say to them, I've been banging on about this since 1992. There's a picture of me in the IET magazine, but before it was the IT, when I had hair and I was significantly lighter, campaigning for escalators to be thoroughly examined. So here we go. My early research back in 1996 is side of step entrapment on escalators. It happens very, very regularly, and so I've been going on about it for a long time, and now is the time. We need to engineer the future. We need to change designs. We need to look at what we've got. These are a few examples of side of step entrapments, and it's not just children's shoes. Yeah, you can see there adult trainers as well. And there's a common theme goes on. If you were to design an escalator now, because it is exempt from certain parts of the machinery directive, you wouldn't be able to build it. It's a big mincing machine. And someone would say, oh, no, you can't do that. So to engineer the future, we need to find a different way. The other thing as well is with an escalator, very unforgiving. If you get your feet caught between the steps, and if your toe is in touch with the step in front when it goes into the flat, what we call transition, that can take your toes between the steps. And the only thing that will stop an escalator is the cone plate at the end. But by then, it's a little bit late. We need to change the future. So in 2005, I got involved in investigating accidents with luggage trolleys and baggage carts, believe it or not, on escalators, because the standard was going to allow this to happen. And the annex has now been changed to point out that the use of trolleys on escalators is not a great idea. You see this chap here in this photograph. Now, if you transpose that, that's luggage. Yeah, that's rather like going to a bowling alley if you're standing in front of it and you're the skittle. Anything comes off of that and goes hurtling down that escalator, you will get wiped out. Transpose that into a child in a pushchair that's not strapped in, that goes over the transition and falls out. Now, if I told you I've investigated 2 accidents where children have died as a result of that, you will go, woo. This is why we need to engineer the future. We need to change the design of some of the old heritage stuff we've got. So hopefully this will run. Luggage trolleys and travelators don't go together, and modern standards. Where's that next passenger going? And standards have not adapted over the years to require a stop button so that someone behind that person can stop that machine. And you will see, there we go, it just turns into absolute carnage. This presentation actually can go on for 2 hours, but I'm very limited on time, so I'm shuffling through very quickly. And here's another issue in retail environments where a shopping trolley rotates. It's completely blocked. Passengers cannot get off. Yeah, we need to find a solution for the future. This one's quite graphic, and believe it or not, was taken from an expert witness case I was involved in. People just don't understand, and it's for us as engineers to educate people. Okay. And we live with an ageing society, and the other thing we're needing to adapt for future-wise is accessibility and inclusivity. You know, our population is getting older, and we have people with Zimmer frames and walking sticks. If anyone recognises this is Manchester Airport. You can see literally how people get themselves into trouble very, very easily. Now, let me stop that there. Why does the handrail on an escalator need to be exposed? Right, in terms of the newel end, when you come around the ends. And the answer to that is so you keep an escalator flexible for up and down operation. If someone said, actually, that's going to be a down escalator and that one's going to be an up escalator and they'll never change, we could cover the handrails at the newel ends. And I'll show you an accident in a minute which would have prevented a child fatality. So we need to think about the future. We really need to revisit where we are. We've spoken about the macro world going forward of energy and environment and things like that, but we need as engineers to take on the responsibility of changing now. Bikes on escalators, oh, what an absolute nuisance. So during that research, I then discovered that actually children were falling over the sides of escalators quite regularly. I'll have a look at this. My supervisor at the time, this is 2011, a few years ago now, my supervisor at the time said, carry on, Dave, and do some more research. What I found, this is the statistics for fatalities for people falling over the sides of escalators. So I did it between 1987 and 2007 and had to cut it off. And of course, what's happened with escalators? We used to stick them against a wall and pretend they weren't there. And I remember as a child, that would be the case, going to Woolworths, an old name for showing my age. But the escalators were hidden behind a wall, and they were there just purely for functionality. Architects now make retail an exciting experience, yeah, rather than just going there. Another reason to move escalators out into the wide open as well is because that's where all the shoplifting went on, believe it or not. People would get on an escalator and they would fill their bags on the way down and then leave the building. But we get deliberate acts. So I was looking at this because my focus was really on children, because what I was finding more and more young children falling over the sides. The chap with the hoodie here, his first good deed of the day was stopping the escalator so that the lady with the pushchair didn't get on it. Believe it or not, his solicitors contacted me wanting to take a case against the shopping centre, which I didn't take. So we do get this, and the escalator industry said that this was the problem. You'll be pleased to know that no escalators were damaged in the course of that filming. But then we get other accidents where children are falling from escalators. So this young lad, shopping centre in Newcastle, is completely unaware of the issues. Surely engineering the future means going back to something that looks like it did in 1935 and saying, we need to change this. And this one, remember I said about covering the handrail? That child has literally just been taken by that handrail. And that's the friction between his clothing and the handrail himself. We can do something about that. We can change the future. So, Paul's in the audience. Paul will recognise London Bridge Station. I'm really pleased to say that Network Rail have taken on my research and said, actually, we will put additional guards on the sides of escalators. And that's London Bridge Station. In fact, the new standard that's coming out is going to require guarding on the outsides of escalators, because escalator handrails can be between 900 and 1100 millimetres high off the floor, but a balustrade round an open atrium, building regs, requires 1100 mil. So why can an escalator handrail be 900 when we know we have this issue? So then we have some fun. I thought I'd introduce some funny stuff. Passengers do funny things. This is a world pole vaulter on the left, got on an escalator. Not a great idea. And a chap there on the right with a 12-foot ladder who nearly ended up with two 6-foot ladders. So the environment around us as well, that's something as engineers we need to take on board. It's not just about solving the problem, is it? It's about the environment we're in, the safety, and so on and so forth. Mobile phones. I don't need to tell you the problem with mobile phones. Yeah. Maintenance. This is where we need people that can maintain things. Look at the amount of teeth missing off that cone plate. And I got involved with that because a child's hand went under that handrail and under that cone plate. Escalator step there with a big chunk missing out of it. Big pile up on the right. I know I'm going to get 2 minutes left, so I'm under pressure. Escalator pile-ups. Just watch this, completely innocent escalator. The father obviously realises something's wrong, and then it piles up. Very rudimentary design. It's so old, and we could prevent that very, very simply. Maintenance again. Oh, can we get back to that one? Is that going to play? No. What happened on that one was the handrail was going at a different speed to the steps, and so the man ended up falling backwards. Pure maintenance function. We need people to maintain as well. Oh, here we go. Thank you. That's my IT man up there, I assume. Thank you. There we go. And that's all because the handrail was doing a different speed to the steps. This one, brake problem. So the escalator was stopped and the brake couldn't hold it because the brake hadn't been maintained properly. And it just puts people in a pile at the bottom. You see people will jump over the side. An escalator being a balanced machine, that will come to a stop. And it will be perfectly innocent. Yeah. Why? Only escalators over 6 meters tall need the equivalent of a safety gear on a lift. Why is that? When that can happen. King's Cross Fire, again, maintenance. In the few years running up to the King's Cross fire, this was one of my first inquiries. I was a very junior engineer at the time. London Underground had 400 fires on escalators, right, on the run up to King's Cross. Yeah. Design. This is where we need to be integrating with other people. So this has been added to an escalator to stop luggage getting on it, all very well intended, but then ends up getting someone trapped between the handrail and the building fabric. On the right there, you can see a guard missing. That's how that child got up the outside. Then we get designs like this, and I've shown you people going over the side. Yeah, we need to think to the future and how we stop people falling over the sides. Some of you might have seen this article in the Daily Telegraph magazine, for which the industry shot me for telling the world what the problems are, and I'm now telling you what the problems are. Sometimes there's not a lot we can do. Quite frankly, that's not an escalator problem, obviously. But the big owners are really, really trying to get their act together. And so let me leave you with this. There's Network Rail, one of our major owners, obviously, of escalators. But what I'm saying, and the theme for today was engineering the future, is we can't engineer the future without engineers that can design, can maintain, and sustain the future. Simple message. Sleep well, don't have nightmares. Thank you.